with Spark JobServer. So the first question many data scientists ask is, why Spark JobServer? Well, Spark JobServer is a great tool for data scientists developing automated machine learning pipelines. Spark JobServer provides a cross-platform Java Scala-based REST API interface to submit and monitor jobs and contacts on your Spark installation. Spark JobServer allows teams to coordinate, serialize, validate, and track Spark jobs. Some of the key features of Spark JobServer provides are ease of accessibility through the REST API, easy parallelizable using shared contexts and RDDs, and it's highly versatile across platforms and multiple Spark configurations. Most importantly, it helps you productionize your Spark machine learning pipeline. In this tutorial, we will cover the following things: the prerequisites for installing the Spark JobServer, installing the actual Spark JobServer itself, and running your first Spark JobServer instance on your machine. Before we begin, you will need to have the following tools at your disposal. MacOSX 10.9 or later should be installed on your machine. You should have some familiarity with MacOSX terminal or command line. You may need an Apple developer account for the installation of software like Xcode. Additionally, you will need administrative access to your machine for the software installation. And you will need an internet connection, as many of the packages that we will be using today will be downloaded from external sources. If you have everything that you need, then let's begin. First, we'll go over the prerequisites for installation of the Spark JobServer. This includes installing Xcode, installing Homebrew, installing Git, and installing SBT using Homebrew. Don't worry if you don't know what some of these terms mean yet. We will go over all of that in the following slides. First things first, let's get started installing our prerequisites. We will begin with installing the Xcode application via terminal. If you're not familiar with Xcode, it is an integrated development environment, or IDE, for macOS. It was developed by Apple and provides a suite of software development tools for Mac products. We will use it in our installation of the Spark JobServer. To access the terminal, go to Applications, Utilities, Terminal.app. From there, you'll be able to open a new terminal window. At the prompt, which in the example below is a $, you will type in xcode-select space -- install. This command should open up a GUI for installing Xcode via the command line tools. Next, we install Homebrew. Homebrew is a free and open source software package management system that simplifies the installation of software on macOS. We will use Homebrew to install the rest of the prerequisites for the Spark JobServer as well. The easiest way to install Homebrew is via a Ruby command. This command will automatically fetch the Homebrew application and install it from Homebrew's GitHub site. To do this, you need to open a terminal window and enter the command below. Your terminal should look similar to the example below. After you've installed Homebrew, we need to verify the installation. To do this, you will need to enter the brew doctor in the terminal prompt. Your success message should be similar to the one below. Don't worry if it looks a little different, as this will depend on your machine's configuration. Just follow the instructions for your machine at the prompt. Our next prerequisite is the installation of Git. Git, in case you are not familiar, is primarily used for source code management and software development. The GitHub repository is used to store source code for many open source projects like Homebrew and the Spark JobServer. Homebrew makes installing Git very simple. We only have to type brew install Git at the command prompt, and Git is installed for us. You should see output similar to the one below. Next, let's verify our Git installation. We can do this by typing Git at the command prompt. A list of options for using Git should be displayed, as in the example below. If your output is different, please go back and review your Git installation, as we will need it in the future. Our final prerequisite is the installation of SBT. SBT, or the Simple Build Tool, is an open-source build tool for Scala and Java projects, similar to Java's Maven and Ant. It can compile and deploy our Spark JobServer instance once we are ready. Again, Homebrew makes the installation easy. We simply enter brew install SBT at the terminal prompt. You should get output similar to the example below. If you would like to know more about the packages being installed, you can enter brew list at the terminal prompt, and it will give you a list of the packages installed with SBT. Next, we must verify our installation. Here, we run a short Scala program, namely the standard Hello World, using SBT. The output below shows SBT is working because the program is compiled, runs, and prints the statement Hello World. You can download this code if you wish to try it on your own from our GitHub. Now that we have all the prerequisite tools installed, we can download and install the Spark JobServer. In this part of the tutorial, we will cover installing Spark JobServer using Git to access the GitHub repository. After the installation, we will learn how to start the Spark JobServer local instance on your machine. And finally, how to exit a running Spark JobServer instance. Let's get started with the installation. First, we need to download the source code from the Git repository. You can do that by entering the git clone command at the command prompt. Git clone clones a remote GitHub repository into a newly created directory on your local machine and allows version tracking. To obtain the source code, enter the git clone command and the URL to the GitHub repository at the command prompt, as shown in the example below. Now that we have the Spark JobServer installed, we will start the JobServer application using SBT. This is what we will use in the future lessons to access our Spark jobs and contexts via the REST API. First, in a new terminal, cd or change directory to the installation directory for your Spark JobServer. This should be spark-jobserver-master, but if you have trouble locating the directory, you can enter the find command, shown below at the command prompt to get the name and location of the matching files. Now that we are in the correct directory, enter SBT at the command prompt to run SBT. This will compile and run our Spark JobServer installation. When SBT has finished loading, type restart to start the Spark JobServer. If the JobServer starts successfully, you should see a success message similar to the one below. Congratulations! Your Spark JobServer instance is running. In future tutorials, we will cover how to access your Spark installation and use Spark JobServer to manage your Spark jobs. To conclude this tutorial and exit the Spark JobServer while it's running, simply enter exit at the command prompt. You should get a message that the JobServer has been killed. Don't worry, it's not really dead. Please tune in for our next tutorial to learn more about the managing your machine learning pipelines with Spark and Spark JobServer. Congratulations on completing this tutorial.